Testing, can you hear me? Loud and clear? Good. All right.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Emily, just let me know when you've got it loaded onto the website. All right, we are live on YouTube. And we have Sarah, you're here. Yep, we have all 5 committee members present. MHTV is recording, and I will call the meeting to order at 7:01. First up is commendations, and unfortunately, Dr. Satterfield could not join us tonight, so we don't have any building-based commendations. So that moves us straight to school committee commendations. Does anybody have anything? Meg?
So last Friday night, a few of us and the superintendent attended the cultural feast at the high school. And so I just wanted to give a commendation to the students who organized that as part of their senior project. So it was Diana Gordon, Bumi Oyadeshi, and Brandy Scott. They put on a fabulous event, food trucks outside and performances by our amazingly talented students and staff who participated. I was so happy to see such a good turnout. It was a beautiful evening. It was a great night, an annual event that goes to help raise funds for a scholarship. And so I just think they did a really fabulous job putting that all together. So thank you.
They absolutely did. Nan, has your elbow recovered from all the scooping? Nan was an ice cream scooper that evening. Just a phenomenal job according to the kids. But it was a lovely event, and the students should be so proud of themselves, both the performers as well as the 3 young women who organized it. It was fantastic. Anybody else with any commendations? All right, that moves us to our student representative, Dan Howell. Dan, I know I saw you in the waiting room. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yep. So first of all, I know that there's been a lot of discussion amongst parents and teachers about the new masking guidelines, and this certainly holds true for students as well. So this is, I guess, a bit more of an opinion, but I believe personally and trust that, the CDC, Charlie Baker, DESE, and of course you all are making decisions really on behalf of all students and considering all students, from the most cautious to least cautious among us, and making decisions in their best interest. And I really hope that other students feel the same way. But nonetheless, I think no matter what decisions are ultimately made, MHS students will take them in stride, because that's what we have been doing all year, really. MCAS is coming up next week for the 10th graders. Next Tuesday is the annual Powder Puff game in the spring now, when it's usually in the fall. But we are very glad to be able to have the game. Unfortunately, spectators, there can only be 2 per participant, so can't have open, spectating, but we wish them luck. Also, this weekend is the MHS Drama Club's production of the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Mr. Bucky got to sit in at for the final rehearsal yesterday, and we'll be on for this weekend. So there are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday shows, and it will be at the MHS tent in the parking lot. Tickets will be sold at the door. But yeah, we'd really appreciate, people coming out. Yes, thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Dan. I've got my tickets for Sunday, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure it's
Great.
going to be great. Just if anyone's wondering, Dan is going to stay with us for our final 2 meetings of the year. So we've got him for a couple more. And he and I are working on who will take his big shoes for next year. So I will keep the committee posted on that.
All right. Thanks so much,
I
Dan.
hear you have a younger sister.
Yes, I'm not so sure she's so adept with public speaking, but
Oh, no pressure.
Well, thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure to have you here.
thank you.
All right, that leads us to public comment. If anyone would like to make public comment, please use the raise hand function, and I will call on you. If you want to make a public comment, please remember to state your full name and address for the record. Catherine Martin.
Good evening, Catherine Martin, 29 West Shore Drive. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Planning for Success. I know it kicked off this week, and I'm really excited and can't wait to hear about the data that comes out of that. But I guess my question is, and what I'm kind of looking for, and David will remember because Bill McCalduff was a big person who always wanted a look ahead. So I guess what I'm wondering is, could we expect a presentation of a look ahead that kind of brings us from the end of that plan through next fall, so we can understand where we're going to be aligning things, whether it's curriculum or new initiatives, and then also how we leverage our budget and financial resources to support this. I do feel like every year we get to budget season and it's like, okay, it starts in November and we don't have the data yet to go forward with what we need. And I think, now that it's end of May and June and we've started this like really great initiative that's really going to drive the culture and curriculum of our district, that it would be great, if we could get this look ahead, if we could get a presentation during the school committee meeting that shows us we will be ending the PFS in August. We expect this data to come out of it. By September 15th, we think that we're going to have these curriculum or facilities or special education or early intervention tied in, features figured out. And then on XYZ date, we're going to have budget allocation so we can actually really start to build this needs-based or zero-based budget that we talk about every single year. So, I love that this is starting. I'm excited about it. It's more than time to do it, but I really kind of want to understand the timeline, because we do have a habit in this district of collecting data and then the data sits on a shelf and it doesn't get implemented. So would love a presentation in the next couple of weeks on to use Bill's words, the look ahead or a rundown or whatever, business metaphor you want to use, but would love to hear and see something like that from the committee presented. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Katie. Sarah, you have your hand raised.
Yes, and I apologize, it's a little awkward. We have a campaign shirt, and as this is funded with public money, this is a campaign finance violation. So if Mr. Baker could just either change his shirt or turn off the camera. I know that Ms. Taylor would never openly wish for this, and I'm sure it probably makes her uncomfortable too.
Paul, you're muted.
Oh,
Still muted, Paul.
huh. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
And
Sorry,
I
I
don't
didn't
wish to
realize-
get to go back and forth. I just want to be very clear
No, no.
that there's
No, I
rules.
wasn't trying to go back and forth, Sarah. I was unmuted. I'm sorry, I wasn't muted. I'll happily take it off. Sorry, I didn't realize that was an issue. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Pleasure.
All right, I don't see any other hands raised, so I will move us forward to the superintendent's report. John, looks like graduation update from Principal Bauer is up first.
I will let Dan share the good news as the landscape changed yet again for what we'll be able to do for end of year activities.
Thank you, school committee and Dr. Bucky. Exactly, the goalposts have moved, appropriately so on Piper Field. We're very excited that there has been some additional guidance and updates with the graduation. So we received information just yesterday in terms of what we can adjust. So the big adjustment really is the ability for students not to wear masks on the field, as well as spectators, family members. The hope is that they're fully vaccinated, but certainly would encourage mask use if that's not the case. But they don't have to wear masks. And the other part too, which I think is very exciting, is the spacing is as feasible. So we've been trying to move things around to make sure we can fit all the guests in. As you remember, we said 4 was the number we were on, but hoping to get to 6 because that was the recommendation of DESE. So happy to report that we're going with 6 guests per each student. So that's an awesome thing. We're very excited about that. And as we view the ceremony, really those will be the big changes. And we're going forward with a few of the guidelines that we still are following, which will be the advanced sign up for the guests. So we have a Google form that will be going out shortly, probably the next day, just to have on the student's account, just to record the 6 guests. So we have that, and also the health attestation, which we all have to do. So that'll be easily on the Google Doc, the Google form, and we'll use that through Mail Meteor. We'll make sure that goes on a Mail Meteor, which is awesome. And then from there, the diplomas can be handed directly to the student. So I think that means a lot for the students to get that handed directly to them. So without the mask, if you remember, there was a whole piece about how to set up an area for photography. We don't have to worry about that. So as they exit the stage, we can take the picture and the students, graduates can return back to their seats. So we're very excited about that. We did order, I think, 500 extra chairs. We're trying to space it out as much as we can on Piper Field. If you remember 2 years ago, we had a pretty large area for families to sit on Piper Field as well as the stands. We feel we can add even more and have more on Piper Field. The key, though, that is true is that Piper Field means a lot to our community, and we have to follow the guidelines in terms of no food or drink at all on the field, no chewing gum, and also no high-heeled shoes, just wearing flat shoes so not to damage the turf. The company we're using, they have the cups on the bottom of the chair so it won't damage the turf. We're using the same companies we used 2 years ago. We're also using the professional sound system that we used 2 years ago as well. We'll be working with Andrew Scolio and Kevin Gadu in terms of the music, which is a huge part of our celebration. That does still have to maintain the spacing that is the current guidelines. We did meet with Andrew Petty this afternoon just to roll through everything as just to double check, and he's been great helping us. So, obviously we're going with the guidelines as they are, and everything looks really good. And basically the ceremony will be as it's been before. So I think that's really exciting for all of us. The tickets and programs, we're going to still put those in the graduates' bag a day in advance at the senior show. So they have that. They can bring the programs home to their families. So we won't distribute them, which is fine. That actually was kind of an issue 2 years ago. We ran out of programs. So we've gone with 6 programs to make sure we have enough, and we can obviously print more. And we will still stream the event, which I think we learned through the athletics, how that has made a difference for those who can't make it. And we'll still stream the graduation. So we're working on that as well to make it an awesome event. So we're very excited about all those items. And I know that, the parents are eagerly awaiting more information from us, but certainly, as you know, we want to make sure the information is accurate, and it's changed so much. Now we're in a point where we'll be sending more specifics out with the Google form for the sign up for the guests. So, we made a change 2 years ago too with our gowns, which are not returnable, which is awesome. They can take them home. And that actually worked out well for families that wanted to take pictures afterwards. So, so they're not just jammed onto the field and feel a rush to turn in their gowns. And that was a nice touch as well. A few other items too. I don't know if there's any more time to speak. I know I've taken a lot of time, but there will be more updated information going out to the seniors because there will be some adjustments with the senior formal event, which our group has been working hard. Our students have worked really, really hard on that one. And it's wonderful. There'll be some adjustments there. And I think they'll all be very happy with what they hear based on the mask guidelines and the ability to dance and have a really great celebration. And also the next night we have the senior show as well as the hypnotist, which is all on board. We're set with the spacing and the PAC. So we're looking forward to having all the events. The only last thing we're selling on is the scholarship night. We are keeping that virtual just because we said that for a while. And the big part of the scholarship ceremony is to have the presenters there, and it just wouldn't be enough time to pull that off. So we'll do that just as we did last year in the virtual format, which went well. So we're just settling on the date where we can release the link so families can tune in for that. We'll notify the scholarship winners in advance for that as well. So lots of great news, and appreciate all the families and our seniors, especially their patience as we wade through this, but it's all wonderful news.
So Dan, it sounds like we have left the Footloose era and we can dance at prom.
Well, yes, good 80s movie. Yes, I think we have. So
Fantastic.
we're excited. Yes.
Megan, did you want to say something? And then David.
Oh, go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dan, I know planning for all these events, especially graduation's been a moving target, and you've kind of had to roll with the punches and adjust as you know, over the past few weeks and months, really. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team and the students, obviously, for being so flexible and coming up with, you know, what sounds like a really great celebration of the seniors' accomplishments and their families. So thank you.
Yeah, second that. So Dan, what if there's people, just ordinary citizens of Marblehead that might want to attend the event, or like, let's say a teacher or a former teacher or something like that? How does that work?
So right now we did ask that question today because, you know, we just take the guidelines as they are and work with it so that we're at the level. We're not going to go above, we're at the level. Right. And basically through our conversation that may even change, you know, things may change even further as we get closer to the ceremony. Right now, it's really for the 6th as we check in, but you know, there's a possibility, and I obviously I can't predict, but knowing how many changes have happened so recently, that may change as well as things have opened up.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sarah?
No, I'm not. Sorry if I'm looking for a spoiler alert, but do you think that for the formal event, they may be able to bring dates that are outside of the senior class, or no? Is that still a hard and fast?
Well, as everything, flexibility has been the key for everybody this year and looking through what we can do. So that was a topic of discussion with the seniors and Ms. Page today, and that looks like that's likely going to happen. So the event has been planned, and they're not charging the seniors, so there are limitations. But for the red carpet piece, you know, I know I'm giving a lot of information that will be coming out.
Sorry.
That's okay, you know, but stay tuned. So there's good news for the seniors. We'll be excited about.
And
that.
Dan, we should make it a requirement that they all get the Footloose reference before they come.
Well, that one was just remade a couple of years ago, so they actually might.
Right. Yes. If there's any adjustment, it will be just for the red carpet based on the planning that we've done. So,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions for Dan? All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Great work. And thanks for planning multiple versions of graduation along the way.
Well, I got to give the credit to the team. They've been doing a great job behind the scenes. So thank you.
Thanks
I
to
was just
everyone.
going to say, Lindsay Page has done a tremendous amount of work, hasn't she?
Yes. I think she's ready for a vacation because we have MCAS. She runs that, and then we get into the senior stuff. So.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone. John, mask guidance updates.
Yes, I was able to take the revisions that were suggested last night and run them by John Foskett, and so you got that this afternoon around 3:30. It is in the Dropbox. Right before the meeting, Sarah Fox called and asked me if I could see if there could be a clause added at the end. So if you're looking at the document, the area where the superintendent is delegated, instead of a period at the end of that updated guidance, it would be a comma, and provided that a quorum of the school committee cannot be available with such time that the updated guidance can be promptly implemented. So I reached out to John and he turned that around quickly. John joked, he said, I'm happy to write 3 versions. I reminded him he charges us each version he writes. So this is added, which was not part of the Dropbox. So we have added that phrase at the end.
All right, great. Thank you, John. So what does everyone think? There was a few slight changes to the changes that we made last night, just to really streamline things. So the students are exempt from masking requirements when outdoors on school property, even when social distancing cannot be maintained. All adults who are not students must continue to wear masks outdoors on school property during school hours when social distancing cannot be maintained. Individuals attending school-sponsored events that do not occur on school property are subject to the masking requirements applicable to that property. So we really just kind of took a little bit of it was all individuals who are not students on school grounds, and we changed that to all adults because that is what the guidance said. And then Megan, you had asked about the issue with mask breaks possibly being needed on a rainy day inside the buildings. And so additionally, face masks will not be required during mask breaks that occur inside school buildings with a minimum of 6 feet of physical distance between individuals. All mask breaks are optional for the individual students. Students who do not want or need a mask break will not be forced to participate. And then the added piece, which this is the piece that I asked everybody to kind of think over and to get obviously the wording from John Foskett, is the superintendent is delegated the authority to amend or revise this policy in accordance with updated guidance from Massachusetts Department of Public Health and DESE, so long as such amendments or revisions are consistent with the updated guidance. And then that little piece that John just added.
I just have a question.
Mhm.
So Sarah Fox, can you just kind of talk us through that change that you asked John to make?
Sure. So according to Massachusetts General Law, Part 1, Title 7, Chapter 71, and Section 37, it clearly states that policy is the purview of the school committee in establishing and changing all policies. So my concern was, by doing this, we actually were not following Massachusetts General Law as outlined in that chapter and section. So I was slightly uncomfortable with it to begin with. In this instance, I understand the reason for it, but I also had a general discomfort in us making a policy that was in opposition to our duties outlined by Massachusetts General Law. So that added piece of language to me, was helpful in saying, we will do our best to convene as a quorum, but like, if this needs to be implemented right away and we can't get a quorum, we're not tying his hands. But again, like where our duties are so clearly outlined in Mass General Law, policy being that one of those very clear outlines, I just wanted to, rules, like laws are laws. So I just wanted to, if we could, try to maintain that the school committee establishes and changes policy in accordance to Mass General Law.
David?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Sarah, and I think it's just worth noting that we're talking in this instance about the specific face coverings policy, EBCFA only, and as well, Sarah, no additional policy revisions. Just this is this specific policy with that language in it only, and it doesn't apply to all of the policies that we have, in the district.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's just the part of me that realizes legal precedent is legal precedent for a reason. Once it's done once, it becomes the legal precedent. So I just wanted, the law is the law. So I wanted to make sure we were as clear as possible that we are doing our due diligence to convene and to be the ones that change policy, even if it's just in a very narrow purview of this policy.
Yeah, and I think we do our due diligence to convene, absolutely. And within that due diligence, we have the confines of the open meeting law. And I also think that, in the case of Monday, it was really sort of an exception to the rule where Governor Baker spoke at 1:00 on Monday and made decisions that went into effect on Tuesday, whereas normally there might be a 2-week notice. And so I think going forward, there certainly could be instances that could come up since it is a pandemic where the governor and the CDC might need to make decisions on a, less than 24-hour notice. But hopefully going forward, we won't need this, that some of these changes will be put out in such a way that we can convene a quorum and it's in advance of when the changes take place. So, but when those exceptions do come up, like Monday, when he wanted to make a ruling to affect things on Monday, and then we waited until last night and or tonight to finalize things. Yeah, I think it's just a good way to try and keep things moving in the right direction on that. And I'm in full agreement. And so, do we want to make a motion to reconsider the policy for face coverings, EBCFA?
Sure. So you're making a motion to reconsider the policy.
Right.
And so that would open up further discussion around this. But do you want to accept the changes?
Yeah, I think if it gets seconded, and then we can make the motion to accept the changes as
Sounds good.
amended.
So this is
Yep.
just to reopen the conversation.
Right.
Okay. So David's made a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Megan second. Sarah Gold, yes. Sarah Fox,
Yes.
David Harris,
Yes.
Megan Taylor,
Yes.
Emily Barron.
Yes.
All right, so that passes 5-0. So now we can continue to discuss.
Right. So I will make a motion that we approve face coverings EBCFA as presented this evening, with the change brought forth by Sarah and Dr. Bucky.
So
Megan, did you want to discuss something before we made a second motion?
no, it's in regards to the changes we're talking about, right?
So we can second it and have discussion?
Yep.
Okay.
I did second it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So just not to be a total pain here, but I'm wondering if for Sarah Fox, if it's a happy medium, give John through this to make those changes, but then we just, make sure that we vote them at our next school committee meeting, right? Because that way it just kind of, adheres to, Sarah's point.
Yes. So that was my thinking in putting this idea forward, is that not that we would just allow John to make changes to, per guidance and then not follow up with it. My thinking was that given how this past week has gone down, that if this clause had been in there as of Monday, it would have allowed John to make these changes, put them in for Tuesday, and then we would have this conversation this evening to basically ratify those
Right.
changes per the policy. Our other COVID policy, the EBC, emergency supplemental policy, that we passed way back at the beginning of the year, gives actually a great deal of power in this type of regard to the superintendent to kind of make these, for lack of a better word, make these game time decisions where it would slow things up for the committee to have to wait to call for and follow the open meeting and get the 48 hours and everything. So that was sort of where this came from in my head, and why I brought it to the committee for conversation. Because I get it.
Yeah.
This is, this absolutely is our job. And it is, I completely trust Dr. Bucky, but it is a big deal to sort of say, like, someone else can take over on policy for a moment.
So I ironically, I think John Fox going to get his little joke about writing it a third time. So I guess we would approve it. Either let it stand as is, approve the wording we have, and just, again, we need to stop wordsmithing. We have attorneys. This is legal policy. It's legally standing. We sink or swim by this. So go back. Sarah Gold will go back with our intent of the message that Megan just came up with, and have John Foskett do his thing for our next meeting. But we either need to table the motion or approve it as is. I don't think we start wordsmithing.
Yeah.
I think we approve it as is, and then you can make that change.
Sure.
So
Anybody
that's
else?
with my addition that John Foskett provided.
My suggestion is just to basically have the school committee vote at our next convened meeting. So as is, but just the school committee will ratify, or whatever term you want it, John, use.
Well, through the chair, I don't think we're wordsmithing
Right,
anything.
exactly.
We're not, Sarah wordsmithed it and offered the change to the document that was validated by our attorney. What you're saying is, I think, just to clarify, the school committee still retains the right to vote policy at any
Yes.
time.
Exactly.
So if a policy gets passed at a later date, we can bring it up when we have a quorum at such time, and
Yep.
we can vote the policy as we see fit. We don't need to change that. That is the law and
Right.
in the way of the land. So
Okay.
you're just making a point, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that will read, John, I don't know if it was John or Sarah that just read that last sentence, how it will read. So long as such amendment and revisions are consistent with such updated guidance, comma. Just so we're clear what we're,
And provided a quorum of the school committee cannot be available within such time that the updated guidance can be promptly implemented.
perfect, thank you.
Can I
And
ask
that-
one clarifier on that, Sarah, just where your head is at and how you see that? So given this week, if this had been in place as we're talking about it right now, would that have allowed John to make these changes on Monday afternoon to be implemented Tuesday, and then us to vote them this evening?
It means we would have made every attempt to get together as a quorum according to open meeting law, and then and do it the way, is outlined in Mass General Law. And if we were not able to meet those guidelines, within if we were not able to do that, we wouldn't say, okay, well, you're going to wait 2 weeks or whatever. Like, we need to do our best effort to get together in a timely manner, which is the 48 hours. And if we can't do that, then it would divert.
Okay. All right. And then we're going to go back to John Foskett and finesse that language a little bit further.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that was, that's a good idea, to say, that, we give the superintendent the option of doing this, provided it's ratified and passed by a majority of the school committee within, I don't know, 5 business days or whatever the number is. That we should put an end date, but
Yeah.
some-
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Any other discussion? Okay.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I just think that to honor what Dan Howell said at the beginning of the meeting, I do want to point out that this is an external outside policy. And the policy as written is that students need to continue to wear a mask inside the building. And I know that we have people in the community that feel very, very strongly about mask and the necessity for them, and nationally it's a very divided conversation. But the policy that is written for Marblehead Public Schools has provisions that if people are refusing to wear a mask inside, that there's a mechanism to address that. And we have 19 days of school left, and I hope that we can all abide this. But I do think, as the superintendent, it's incumbent upon me to point out that the revisions to this policy are outside PE recess that are discussed, and we did not make any internal changes for during the day inside of our school buildings.
Correct.
Thank
and
you
any, yeah, and any student, and that is per the guidance. It's very specific. It's bolded in the FAQ with DESE. Also, any student who would like to, or adult who would like to continue to wear their mask is absolutely allowed and encouraged to do so. This is the spot where we're at of, as our rules relax, we relax them as well, and then people get to relax at their own pace. So some are very ready and others are not. And so that sort of needs to be respected by all, hopefully, as any other personal choice.
Thank you.
All right. I will call for roll call vote. Sarah Gold, yes. Sarah Fox,
yes,
David Harris,
Yes.
Megan Taylor,
Yes.
and Emily Barron.
Yes.
All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you,
Can I-
everyone.
Can I ask John one slight question?
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point, can you, whether it's in tomorrow's email or tonight, can you just put out there what the final day of school is? Because I know I've heard like like no one's really sure, including myself. And we're getting to that countdown point.
It's such an interesting question. It's June 15th, but the question posed to me now is that a full day of school or a half day of school? And I guess historically, the school committee votes that, whether it's a full day or a half day. So I anticipate that being on your first June agenda. The day is identified, unless
Yep.
we have a snow day between now and June. It will be June 15th as the last day of school.
So
It's always been half day, right?
Lisa does not see that on past calendars. That doesn't mean that it wasn't voted as a half day and then just not reflected on the color-coded calendars.
that's how we remember it. At reopening, that's how Megan and I remembered it as well. It's also there's 17 days of school left. Let's not add anything to this year, please.
Well, when he said 19 is when it scared me. I was like, no, that doesn't match our calendar.
All right. Any other questions on any of the mask pieces? Okay, John, any other district updates?
Yes, we did have our first Planning for Success, and I would invite Sarah Fox or Megan Taylor to jump in as they were part of the kickoff meeting. I thought that it went very, very well. The facilitator did a nice job of kind of training the 25 of us that were gathered in a protocol that they can then go out and engage any group in the community. And so each building principal is going to do it with staff and appropriate student groups, and then provide a family option. And those dates will be determined. Nan and I are going to host a community forum as a catch basin for people that might not be a group that's identified. I know Sustainable, that we're going to talk about in a little bit, has been approached twice already since Monday to be involved in the process. And this could be a church group, a civic group, community, neighborhood association. The beauty of this process is that you just gather this data to identify your strategic objectives, then align those initiatives. And she did a nice job, I thought, on Monday as well, of tying that to the budget. And that is very deliberate in this process, that once you get kind of those big objectives, you identify those initiatives, those look forwards, I guess, as Bill might have called them, what can be done in a year, what is going to take more than a year, and planning this 5 years out. And so this will be a 5-year plan for success for the district with some immediate implications for the budget. And we know we have the facilities audit that has come through. We'll know that there will probably be some curriculum issues. So that will be outlined in tomorrow's update. But I thought it was a great initial meeting. And then the leadership planning team will meet on Tuesday of next week and do a SWOT analysis in the district using some of our internal data, and that will be financial data and academic data, and kind of help to put some meat to those priorities that are established to justify the need. And I think that that's exciting work for the leadership team to do, and it will come back as that planning team in June with all those data sources and begin to identify those overarching objectives. And then the leadership team in July at our summer retreat will start some of that initiative work. And then in August, we'll revisit our core values, mission, and vision, and be ready in September to make the case for how these strategic objectives will impact the district moving forward. And if the committee would like a presentation, I'm sure that Megan and Sarah and I could work on putting something together.
Wonderful. Sarah?
it was a nice morning. It was the first time I've seen people in person in probably a year and a half. But one of the things that I thought was important that came out of this that we have to remember is this is kind of our, our 2-page overview, if you will. And out of this, after September, we'll need to come up with detailed action plans. And it's the action plans that will help drive, the line item numbers that will give us a number of, this, the word we keep hearing, override, if we need one. But it's really that post work that needs to be done, that action plan that will give us that, which I had asked in the meeting, and she said that, if we're really organized and we buckle down, we could have that by November. So that was one thing. One thought I did have is a group we might want to look at, and I don't know if this is even data we have as a district or if Dan has it, is, our alumni that are like maybe 5 or so years out, because having gone through college and now trying to get a job, they probably have some really good insight about what are things they might have liked to have seen or done or whatever. And I think that data point would be really good if there's a way for us to reach out to that group. They may be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, so maybe this is where Zoom helps us. But I just thought that might be a group that we might want to touch on.
That's an excellent idea. As a former high school principal, doing alumni surveys and outreach is always so insightful. So engaging them in this PFS process, I think, would be great. That's a wonderful suggestion.
So is that something that you think Dan could organize? Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll work with Dan on that.
Okay. I think it was a really great idea, John, to have a facilitator run this. The facilitator who came in was a very experienced superintendent and educator, for her whole career. She's kind of worked the gamut. And she's gone through this process a number of times with other districts. So absolutely a good move in the way to do it, because she kind of knows how to get us to the right end result. It's a really, really good group. I mean, there are people that I, hadn't met before, and everyone came to the table energized with good ideas, open to hearing, everyone's feedback and considering that, and really excited to kind of get into the meat of it. So I'm excited to kind of get into some of this data and talk to some community members, and then see where it leads us. I think one thing that I left there with, I don't know, John and Sarah, if you agree, but I feel like we were saying things in different ways, but there was a lot of consensus, which I think is a good thing. So, again, we'll see where it leads as we do our community outreach, but it was a great first start for sure.
I'm sorry.
One thing is, I should have said this maybe under commendations, but there's 2 students there. One of the students happened to be in my working group. So I can only speak to him, but I'm sure the young woman that was there was just as wonderful. But I was so impressed with how the student that was in our working group spoke up, really gave very valuable insight and data, and just came, sometimes you forget that these kids are just so good at advocating for themselves and speaking up. I mean, they're in a room with 26 adults, and he was the only student in our group, and Ben just hit it out of the park. I was really impressed. And like I said, I'm sure the young woman did the same thing, but I just wanted to note that they're a real big value add to this process.
Wonderful. I'm excited to hear this and excited to continue to hear the updates as we go along.
Great.
Wonderful. Anything else?
I'm set.
All right, great. So that leads us on to our schedule of bills. The schedules were all in the packet. And so can I get a motion to approve the identified schedules of bill totaling $225,574.23?
So moved.
Megan moved. David, do you want a second?
Second.
David, second. Any questions on any of those?
Nope.
All right. All right. Sarah Gold, yes. Sarah Fox,
Abstain?
David Harris,
Yes.
Megan Taylor,
Yes.
Yes.
and Emily Barron.
Yes.
All right, that passes 4-0 to 1. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that takes us into our school committee section. Megan, you had asked that you wanted to kind of do a sustainability discussion this evening.
Yeah, thank you. So last year, I guess it was, when Bill was here, we used the wellness committee to look at composting and recycling in our schools. And that committee was comprised of a member from Sustainable Marblehead, school committee, Andrew Petty, Board of Health, Bill, obviously, and Connor Ryan from the high school, and 2 students who were involved in composting and recycling at the high school. And one of the things that we were talking about in that group was then expanding what had been done at the high school, because the students had really put together a great composting and recycling process in the cafeteria, and teaching that to, we were thinking of just starting with students at the vet school and getting that set up and running a pilot, which we were supposed to run last spring. And we were actually going to run that pilot at vets and at the village school. So we were just about to get it going, and COVID happened and our school shut down. So, and we all know what the past year has been, but I think we're in a place now where maybe we can get that back on the table. And I'm not suggesting we do it for this school year, but I would, I just wanted to kind of make sure that we were all in agreement that we wanted to move it forward. And I would like to kind of give John the go ahead to just work with the students and the building principals and Richard and Todd, obviously, to get that set up for kicking off in the fall, so we can be ready to go with that. There shouldn't be really a cost associated with it, because I'm pretty sure, and John, once you dig into it, if you find I'm wrong, let us know. But I believe we had everything ready to go and set up for the composting and the recycling, and working with Black Earth on the compost piece. So really I just wanted to get it back on the table and see if we can, get it moving forward and in place for the fall.
I think this is wonderful. This is actually something that we've been talking about at facilities as we'll get more in deep depth into this into our next agenda item, but we are including a sustainability portion of our facilities master plan, because so much of the sustainability, if not all of it, has a major facilities component. So I think this is a great first step that's long overdue, and I'm really happy to see that we can start doing this.
Yeah, same. Thank you for bringing this back up and sort of, because I would hate to, I know how hard you guys worked last year, and I would hate to see this slip off, because I know it's really important to quite a few students in the district, including some of our youngest learners. So it's exciting to push it forward again.
Yeah, and just to say, the students who were part of that, they're amazing what they had set up. I mean, it's pretty much student run, and they had the oversight, in the cafeteria too. So they're really amazing. And I also just think it's worthwhile saying that Sustainable Marblehead has been a really great partner through all this too. So, I'm looking forward to working with them more on this and, future sustainable and green activities. And obviously of course I have to mention Andrew, because he was, a huge help in making sure we were set up with Black Earth and everything we needed. So yeah, thank you. I'm glad to keep it moving.
Wonderful. Anybody else? All right.
I
Sarah?
just also want to, and David may be able to speak to this, one of the things when we were out selling the school that we talked about, and Sustainable Marblehead was such a great partner in being supportive of that and giving us some of their time, that we had talked about. And one of the major sustainability selling features was that we were designing the new school with a dish room, and a pledge that we would have dishes, because we'll be able to purchase that with the FF&E. And I just want to make sure, because I didn't see it, but there's where food service staff is self-funded. It may not have been in the budget. It may be somewhere else. That we're on day one running that dish room where we don't have, cardboard. We don't have any of that stuff. We have dishes as was the plan all along. And we're staffing that and we're ready to go.
Is my volume working? So Sarah, I've reaffirmed all of that. So it does have a full dishwasher room. That's true.
Mhm.
So that is to be able to make sure we don't need to have styrofoam trays. As it stands right now, I mean, we would have to check with Richard, our food services director. There are no plans to serve food on dishes and have silverware that would be washed. That's not part of the current plan for having elementary students eating off of plates and having silverware. That's part of the plan, but there is definitely a dishwasher there to be able to wash all of the items that Richard's staff uses in the kitchen and any trays. And I could double check, you know, there might be some provisions there for utensils, but not that I'm aware of. And in discussions with Gene and our architect, that there was any provisions that were ever made for plates, reusable.
Okay. It was always my understanding, and I know it was talked about in various presentations, including the one at the high school. But we're going to need some clarification, because right now they need to eat off something, and it need not be styrofoam. But the understanding was all along that it was going to be, reusable silverware. This was a fresh slate. It was going to be reusable plates. So we maybe need to dig into that a little more and see what's going on, because we definitely have the budget and the FF&E to purchase it. And we have the machinery in the room in the kitchen to facilitate it. And I'd like to see it happen.
Through the chair. I'm happy to work offline with Richard to find out, because he did do the FF&E, the procurement of the small wares, and find out what was
Right.
ordered and what is on schedule. So I'm happy to meet with him next week and to have an
Great.
answer for you at the June meeting.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much.
All right, Megan, anything else on sustainability?
Nope, just let's make it happen.
All right, wonderful.
I would like to add one thing, since we're talking about sustainability in the Brown School. So the Brown School, it has been affirmed by the architect that this will be a LEED certified school. And so I believe it will be the first LEED certified school in the district. And so we're well on our way for that. So sustainabilities such as, the PV ready on the roof. There's going to be some electric charging stations with, Marblehead Electric Light, and, things around water usage and metering of water, and part of the electrical usage based on the amount of lighting, a lot of the things that have gone into construction or the actual design of the building. And then Gilbane gets certain credits for making sure that they recycle. And when we, tore down the buildings, there was certain pieces of that puzzle that we followed to get the points. And so it's really exciting, because they've made a really good effort at that school to follow along. And the committee was really on, really wanted to see that happen. So we're well on our way, and there shouldn't be any issues with it being a LEED certified school.
That's great news.
Thanks, David.
Yeah. All right. That leads us on to the superintendent evaluation process and update. So those were due today. I think a couple people need a little bit more time. You're muted, Sarah.
I thought they were due tomorrow.
They can absolutely be due tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really thought they were due tomorrow.
That's okay. It's not a problem. I figured that most of us would need a little bit of extra time. So it's easier to plan earlier and then allow for extended time than kind of push up against the
I
the back of
apologize
it.
that you guys are all waiting for me.
No, you're not. It's not just you.
Okay.
You're muted, David.
You were my guest,
The
David.
reference was to me, Sarah. It was not known that yours weren't in. It was
Oh.
to me. I had asked for an extension on my homework,
Okay.
and I
What
was
did he
granted.
get- What did he get an extension to?
David, when do you need an extension till?
I'm looking to get my extension until next Monday or Tuesday.
I'm with him. I'll go with him.
Okay.
That's fine. Lisa and I can handle that. So I also just wanted to give an update and then ask, I don't think we need to take a formal vote on this, but if you want to, we can. Just sort of, I said I would give an update on how I plan to, and with Lisa, kind of coordinate and collate this data. So my thinking around this is that Lisa and I will make copies, and then we'll both take a set, and then she and I will individually go through things, kind of look at the number rankings, figure out where each of us think that number falls in the middle, and then go through the comments that are there and pick out comments that we think are good indicators of where the numbers lie, and then maybe some exemplary pieces, and then maybe some places where, additional development is needed. And then I figured that Lisa and I would come together and compare our notes, and then where there's differences, talk those through and kind of come to a consensus. I thought it was best that way, so that it really is kind of like two different thoughts on it coming together, instead of her and I sitting down and I think kind of hashing through all of it and maybe talking it to death a bit. So I'm open to comments and suggestions on what people think of that process and if they want to tweak it.
I like that. I think that's a great idea. One thing I'd request is that in the comments, and I think Dorothy went over this, I don't know if it's a requirement or just best practices, that the document contain comments from every school committee member, not on every item, but that every school committee member's voice is heard.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then all of our individual reviews go, do we figure out that? Because technically they're public documents. Are we going to put in the Dropbox?
So that's what I have to follow up, because they have to be posted. At very least, the summary that we're going to go through and vote on needs to be posted for the public to view 48 hours in advance of the meeting. So I need to circle back with Dorothy and ask her, is that all of our individual documents as well that need to be posted, or is it just the compilation? And then, where do the individuals go? Do they go into our Dropbox, or do they just simply get compiled and into a pile and sent to the state? That I'm still unsure about.
Well, at the very least, I want to see them in Dropbox, because I know that there's still the public document. And if anybody wants to see them, and I can just, ahead of time tell you, I'm going to want to see everybody's. So you might as well plan on doing that at least. And I have to assume there's going to be community requests. So, we might as well want to just beat it to the punch and put it out there, since it's their legal documents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just make sure that we're doing that in the correct way. You look like you want to say, Megan.
No, I think that process sounds very reasonable.
Okay, good. All right, so I'll give everybody a few days reprieve, and then Lisa and I will get to work. Okay, that leads us to subcommittee and liaison updates. I will push it to the facilities subcommittee right away, because we do have that as a specific, the capitals update.
Okay, thank you. So those facilities documents, the full documents, which are very cumbersome, it's 77 pages for each school, have been up. Emily had put those up for us prior to that meeting at the end of April, I believe. So if for the public or anybody that wants to follow, if you go under the new school committee website on the calendar for the, I believe, April meeting, if not the May 10th meeting, there's all those documents are linkable. So the overview, the big overview is they broke it down into critical needs and also long-term needs over a 20-year plan. And they gave us literally a list of year by year what needs to be done. Now, as a committee, we've started to take this, and for the last meeting, I had taken the high school and kind of transferred that into the document that the format we've always used for a facilities strategic plan as a district, just so it's a familiar format. And then Emily and I are sharing a Google Doc where she's doing some of the schools and I'm doing some of the schools, and we'll have that format ready for our meeting on Monday. We're not changing the data. It's literally just giving it just the familiar format. But to summarize, of the critical needs, meaning like right away, there was roughly 1.5, it's 1.476298, but roughly $1.5 million of critical needs in our infrastructure. And though those need to be addressed right away. The biggest ticket item of that is the high school roof. Now, the caveat with that is the number that they presented was about 770,000. Now, Todd has actually gotten actual estimates, and that was just to do part of the roof, and the other part will need to be done in a year or two, they said. It made sense to everybody on our facilities committee, Todd himself included. We have a gentleman, Jeff St. George, who is a facilities management professional, and he agreed wholeheartedly with Todd that said, you know, if you're doing your roof, you should do all your systems on your roof and the whole roof at the same time. There's no point to doing the roof and then a year or two later starting to punch through that brand new roof to update those systems up there. So that number is going to be higher. Just for the whole roof alone, Todd's estimates are that he's getting are around $1 million. So that 1.5 of critical needs will increase, but Todd is getting us some firmer numbers on that. So we'll have a better number on that. Now, over 20 years, it was 19.9 million. And that number includes the escalation costs that they built in. I'm going to have Michelle clarify what rate they used, because the current rate right now out there in the industry is actually quite high. So I don't know if they used the more stable rate that's kind of been in the past or the current rate. So I'm going to clarify that with her. So that 19.9 million over 2 years, obviously, or 20 years, obviously comes out to about $1 million a year. In the past, we've gotten about 200,000 a year. There's a little bit of a delta. We'll have to work that out. And that 19.9 million is to maintain what we have exactly as we have it. It doesn't include new initiatives. It doesn't include things like sustainable initiatives or other items that, if we want to move forward as a district, would become priorities. So we decided as a committee that we want to, have this kind of minimum maintenance section that we'll build from this. And also just to include, this doesn't include any maintenance or upkeep of the new Brown School, because they could only assess what they could see. So we'll have to add a piece on that, which some of the data Jean's given us kind of for some future maintenance carries us through a few years, but not long term. So this number does not include maintaining the Brown School, but we're not ignoring that. We're just going to add it as its own heading. So again, we looked at it as a committee, okay, this is to keep things as they are, but if we want to progress as a district, what needs to be done? So we agreed that there were some subheadings that we're going to want to look at. And we want to bring in the professionals that will look at that. One of the things was sustainability. This does not include being sustainable at all. So we had invited, and we're excited to come. Sustainable Marblehead will be coming and speaking with us actively during our meeting on Monday, talking about, things that they are hoping to see. They have a plan they want to see townwide, school specific, talking to us a little bit about that so we can look at those initiatives. I was going to reach out to Lisa Wolf, who, I don't know how many of you are familiar. She's not only a member of Sustainable, but she's a member of the Light Commission. She's done great work with researching a lot of various grants out there and really bringing energy, sustainability, and clean energy forward in Marblehead, and doing it, not always on Marblehead's dime. So I wanted to reach out to her and see, what she could lend as some insight, and also what grants might be out there for energy, clean energy, and things like that. She's a great resource we have. She's very knowledgeable, and I thought we could reach out and ask her maybe to join us, especially if she can help us find funding for some of them. or tell us where to look. So we wanted to reach out to Park and Rec, because as of right now, there is no current memorandum of understanding with Park and Rec. There's been discussions, but there's no current understanding. And we need to understand what they can do so that we can pick up the rest, because, Todd made some really great points about, things that, if we're doing this right, would be done, although we're not able to do them right now, we want to plan for them for the future so that we're doing everything we can. So that was one. They are not able to join us next week because their superintendent is on vacation, but probably I can figure out something moving forward. Another subheading was technology infrastructure. The technology software and devices and all of that is definitely not under facilities, but the wiring and the infrastructure and the things like that needs to really be worked into a schedule with our other facilities maintenance. So we'll be looking to Stephen for that information. And we'll be looking to Richard a little bit too, because part of the facilities master plans have always been, and actually are included in some of this report, the annual replacement of certain kitchen equipment and things like that. So I just want to make sure we know the numbers of just replacing the minimum of what we have, but are there things he doesn't have and needs? And so that's going to be a discussion with him. So we're just trying to really work hard to make sure that we're not just producing a document that keeps going the minimum, but also provides growth in the facilities department, moving us forward as a district where we want to be. It's been a great working group. It's been a great committee. Everyone comes, everybody, joins, and we're very lucky to have some really knowledgeable people. And I'm excited that these that these people, like Sustainable and, Stephen or whoever, are going to be able to join us and give us kind of more of that full picture.
Wonderful.
So it's an exciting meeting. If anybody wants to come on Monday, it's riveting.
Well, and thank you so much for the updates. This is great. It's great to hear sort of how in depth it went, and what you guys are doing with it to move it forward, and really, again, to move the district forward, as you said, Sarah. So anybody have any questions or anything? Emily, did you want to add anything? John? No? All right.
I just had one question, Sarah. So is the level of services that we contracted for this, are we done with that, or is there any spend left if we need additional information?
Well, we had budgeted, I have to look back at the budget from last year. We originally had budgeted out of the capital what the cost was under what we budgeted for the capital plan, but that capital money runs out in a month. So I think we're able to come in under budget for that. I think they gave us a really good, some really good feedback. I know Michelle was going back to them with one or two questions, but
their scope of work is complete.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she had one or two questions, but
okay.
Like when I say 70, literally every school is a 77-page report. It's pretty detailed.
Okay.
Megan, did you have anything?
No, I'm gonna go through those 77 pages. Can't wait. But I mean, there's a lot of work to be done still. So I mean, I think just more to come, which is great. So thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. Any other updates from anybody?
Me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just an update for CPAC. I think the last time I talked about it, I mentioned the Unsung Heroes event. This year it is going to be still virtual just because of where we are, but they've gotten some really great and heartfelt nominations. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that all compiled. So that's what their next task is to kind of package that up and produce it. So keep your eyes out for emails, social media. It'll come out in Eric's Shipyard Soundings, I believe, probably sometime in June for that. So that's it.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, Emily.
So for MECO, I know Megan talked about the cultural feast, but I just wanted to say that the event was a fundraiser for the Tyrone Bumper Scholarship, and I overheard that they made a huge amount of money. So that's really exciting to go for the scholarship, which is for one MECO student and one Marblehead student. They write an essay, and it's judged, and I think they get some money and a computer. So yeah, so it was a really great event, and so thank you to everyone who put that together. It was awesome.
Great, thanks, Emily. All right, David, I think that leads us to the building project
Wait,
update.
Can I,
Oh, yes, Sarah?
I forgot until someone just said essay contest. I forgot there was a contest. It's called Book Creator. It was for 11 to 17-year-olds through our librarians that several of our students entered, and it was a national competition. And the winner of it was an 11-year-old. So the lowest age bracket at the village school, and her name was Kate Cole.
Very cool. Thank you,
That
Sarah.
was-
Congratulations to Kate.
One of my kids is raising her hand that she was runner up too. So
Well, congratulations to her as well. All right, David, take it away.
So, back by popular demand, rather than me do the talking, I will let the pictures of the recent progress at the Brown School speak for themselves. And let's see if we can make this happen. Everybody see the blue screen? Oh, I have to share. Hold on. Hold on. So I will go back and share screen first. Blue screen. Okay. 3, 2, 1. And there we are in a minute or about a minute and 5 seconds.
Tremendous.
And since keeping with the theme of Final Jeopardy, name that tune, Dr. Bucky.
Now is probably not the time to tell you that we couldn't hear the music.
Oh, we
wondering
couldn't
if
hear the
you guys
music, but you could hear it coming from my computer?
We
No,
could
not
hear
really.
that you could hear it, but it was in the
Oh.
microphone.
Oh, well, we'll work on the technology piece of it again. But
Worked
anyway,
so well that first time.
But what was it? Now
it was Tchaikovsky.
Oh,
So,
Ah,
nice.
My favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a difference just since we did the walkthrough.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It is really remarkable, and what the highlight of those photos were, the sidewalk is poured,
Yeah.
the curbing is in, the skylight has started, which I'm really excited to see tomorrow because it's actually completely 100% finished, and that was a photo from last Friday. So the translucent panels that are in the gymnasium, that's
Yeah.
all completed. And as you can see, some of the binder paving was put down on the new bus turnaround, the exit off Dartmouth Road,
Right.
the roadway that leads up to the back playfield, and really exciting. There is one bit of news, a little bit of a setback. It's just worth sharing with the committee. We have our building committee next Thursday. So one of the playground vendors that we're using, unfortunately, they're out of upstate New York, experienced a fire in their factory. And So they notified the subcontractors, and it's out there. It's a pretty sad story. You can see it's a massive playground manufacturer facility, and they had a fire, and there was about $4 million worth of damage. So there's a delay that's going to be about right now we're being told it's a couple weeks. So it wasn't necessarily that all our playground equipment burned, but part of the facility has been disrupted, and so they're getting reorganized. And Gilbane and the team are now readjusting their schedule and planning for that. But as it stands right now, that's just an unfortunate happening. But it all things are looking like we'll still be okay with that delay that we've experienced.
That's too bad.
Yeah, that's too
Good,
bad.
Good, too bad. Good to know.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thanks,
David.
David.
It's exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, always like those updates,
This-
music or not.
This is where it's really good that we diversified the various product lines we use, because even if, some's delayed, we'll get the other pieces.
Great. All right. Any new business tonight? All right, and there was no correspondence. We have a second round of public comments. So if anybody would like to raise their hand, I have Erin Noonan first. Just remember to state your name and address, please.
Thanks. Erin Noonan, 15 Beverly Ave. I wasn't really going to make comment tonight, but I was this conversation around sustainability is really disappointing to me. Like, I was expecting that we were going to open this school polystyrene free. And I guess I'm just disappointed about that, and I know we paid for a dishwasher and a full kitchen, and I don't know if we have intention of using it. I just want to make sure that we're not just paying lip service to big ideas like sustainability and diversity. And promising things that we're not prepared to follow through on. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Scott Solberg, I have your hand up next.
See if I can get off mute. Thank you. Scott Solberg, 1 Ramsey Road. Did I come through? Yeah, and hopefully you'll clarify that earlier comment. But I just wanted to say first, great meeting. Really like it was just a good meeting, and really like the banter and such. The plan for success, I'm honored to be part of the team, and I agree with Megan and Sarah on some great comments that you made about the consensus building that was there. And just want to let our other community members know that the capital expenses for keeping our buildings, moving and keeping them healthy was right on the top of the list. But also just a great process. And I hope, and I assume that our superintendent's going to be using the same kind of transparency that was used when we had to deal with COVID to make sure the word is out about the different issues. But it may be helpful, given some of the earlier comment that was made at the earlier part, to just explain the process. I was surprised to know, to learn about the whole process and how it worked. And I think the more the community can understand that we've got a phased out set of steps, and the more we can make them aware, even though we're doing listening sessions, but just knowing about the process, I think would be great for the school committee to just kind of explain, or perhaps superintendent to just lay that out would be great. It was really well done. It was a great experience. And I really appreciate Sarah and Megan for explaining. It was really a fun and engaging experience. The other thing I wanted to say, is I just want to call out Dr. Oxford, our head of student services, for an amazing presentation he made to the CPAC this month. He has laid out a new vision that is going to put our district on a whole new level. And I just want you to know, it's amazing. We hope to get it recorded again a second time with his staff coming in. But what he's proposing as we think about our plan for success, what Eric has as the foundation, is beyond anything I've seen in other districts. And I'm just so proud to be part of this district when I hear the great work that's going on, and just the amazing talent of our individuals. We got great principals. We got great staff. This is just fabulous. So anyway, I'll stop.
Thank you, Scott. All valuable comments. Jean Scona, I have you next.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm Jean Scona from 16 Foster Street. I'm the leader of Sustainable Marblehead's Education Working Group. And I'm thrilled for this opportunity to follow up on the conversations you guys have been having tonight about sustainability in the district. We are really pleased that the Brown School is LEED certified. But I would like to reiterate what we spoke with the building committee about 2 years ago with other requests that some may seem like low hanging fruit, others not so much, but I'd like to reiterate that we discussed refill water stations in the school, that composting, my understanding from the architect, composting in the cafeteria was an easy design. Recycling above and beyond what the school district has been doing of just paper and cardboard, but incorporating aluminum cans and plastic was also something that we were told was very easy to achieve. We understand that the polystyrene is a bigger issue, and we are keeping our fingers crossed and want to be supportive and a resource to try and get the Brown School to open on day one polystyrene free. We think it would be an awesome win for the district to pilot that. And I know in conversations with Dr. Bucky and with Megan and Sarah Fox, there's a lot of conversations going on right now with Richard Kelleher and staffing costs and the cost of dishes. And I really hope that the school committee and the district can follow through on that. It would be a huge win. Another small low-hanging fruit, we had talked about having a sink right inside on the way to the kitchen where any garden produce that the students were growing could be quickly washed and consumed by the students and faculty. I haven't really heard anything about that. I know it's small, but it is a valuable part. We tried to do that prior in the Bell School, and unfortunately did not have a permitted kitchen space for that. The other thing that I would just like to mention, I'm really super excited that Sarah Fox has reached out to Sustainable Marblehead to speak with our group about planning for success. And we hope that sustainability will be a priority for the district. I would just like to make a additional shout out that Sarah is planning on speaking with the Marblehead High School students that make up the National Green School Society group. They're really excited to be a part of this conversation, and I've been mentoring a couple of these students for the last year and been working closely with them for the last 2 years, and they are a really vibrant, smart, engaging group of young activists. And I think it will be incredible for our community to have their feedback of what success would look like in the district, not just sustainability. But so yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Jean.
Catherine Martin.
Yes, Catherine Martin, 29 West Shore Drive. And I would just like to kind of back up Jean and reiterate that as a building committee member, I was under the impression that we would be opening polystyrene free. And that is why we did make a significant investment into the dish room. I think we can actually go through building committee meeting minutes where we discussed that we would be opening a 21st century school and we would no longer be using waste management tactics from the 70s, and we would, get with the times and be moving forward with this. So my hope is that operationally we can fund this, because this was a big promise to our town. Now, when I did tour the school, I am happy to say that the bottle filling stations are being installed in each classroom as part of the separate bubblers. So that is exciting. And the LEED certification is also a really exciting thing for our town. But I will be extremely upset if we open that school with any kind of polystyrene, throwing away of plastic pencils, and not honoring the commitment to the town that we made or the investment that we made in a full service dish room. So I think that that's something that we need to get our operational budget ducks in a row and be able to get out that information to the community that we're going to be honoring the commitment of the design of that school. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, that is all the hands that I have at this point. So that moves us to adjournment, and I will adjourn us at 8:25. Thank you, everyone.